Okay, Barbara, comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I believe in the concept of three. And I've heard that, and I don't know the science behind it, but I know when Sharon Allen became the first woman board member in our own board at Deloitte, it's a very lonely feeling. I mean, if you look around the room, there's really no one, and until there was some critical mass and at least two other women, it takes more than just one other. And then when there's three, I think the men's behavior in the room changes because they kind of see you more as substantive participants versus, okay, there's the token woman, and then there's two, and they kind of stay together. But there's three, they spread out. And so there's really, I think, an important point of that. And I think if you can build it into the goals, it's even better.
All right, build it. All right, so I'm going to take
Well,
a question here.
let me just add, I was on the board of a company, a Fortune 100 company, and there were 3 women out of 21. Each of us was of a different color. So I knew why I was there, but I didn't give a hoot because I am at the table. I have a vote, I have a voice, I can read the board books like anybody else. So whether it's 1, 2, or 3, when you're at the table, take advantage. You are there to decide, okay?
Good. I'll walk the front of the room, but a question from the back of the room. Can you identify yourself?
Sure, I'm Peter Sakai. I'm a judge from San Antonio, Texas. And I love being in the back row because I can watch and listen to everybody in front of me. But my question is this, being in government and hearing y'all's statement about how market force is moving things, but isn't the truth of the matter asserted really that United States experience is not that much different from the Japanese experience not that far long ago, where it was male dominated and really diversity wasn't achieved unless there was government intervention, where it was mandated either through statutory or contractual rights through whatever process. So my question being is, I understand the strength of diversity and how market force can create these opportunities for women and hopefully, but isn't the reality is it's going to be political power and it's going to have to be mandated through some process, and ultimately my question is doesn't that then mean women having to step up into a political position and taking political leadership, and so that way ultimately things get done?
Okay.
You know, I found Jean Cisco, she served on 23 corporate boards in her lifetime, and she was my first co-chair. She said, change doesn't happen without pressure. And companies are subject to inertia just like any organization. Pressure is created by laws, whether they're called affirmative action, equal employment opportunity, or quotas. And I think it can't just be laws. It's a combination of laws, of pressure created by companies themselves because of their knowledge of the customer base. It is also other structures in the private sector like stock exchanges that want to get ahead of the law. I think of change as happening with 3 legs. It's government, private sector, and civil society. Without those 3 legs, you're not going to have change that is permanent. Government isn't enough.
Okay, comment, Barbara.
Well, you know, in our world, there really weren't any laws that forced us to do what we did. And I think what really changed those, we actually made a conscious decision to not have quotas. So we didn't ever have, we're going to have X number of women by X date or anything, because frankly, as a woman, and many of the women felt, that would actually take away from their ability to be viewed as equal. So, you know, I think there was pressure around, if there's a woman and a man qualified, please give the woman a chance. But there was never a, you know, we're going to get to X number. And I think that worked well for us and for our culture. But I'm in total agreement. I think today, if it hasn't happened, I'm very much supportive of what's going on in the rest of the world outside of the United States, where they do have some type of law that's requiring, you know, the board composition or whatever is going to drive that, because I do think you need a catalyst. But at the same time, you know, fundamental change, I think, you know, the grassroots kind, or the kind that really comes from the leadership at the top that we were able to enjoy, I think is going to be the most sustainable. I mean, I think if we had had a law and then we kind of met the number, then it would not have really changed the way our company operates, and that's what's really different today.
Ryan, comment? All right, so we have time for a couple last questions, and I'm going to go here. Oh, look at this. Oh, you're Janelle. You're part of the Etienne internship group. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you're here. Okay, can you stand up and introduce yourself? Look at this. She's a Navy officer.
Thank you.
You should introduce yourself.
My name is Lieutenant Janelle Kuroda. I'm a JAG in the Navy. And being a lawyer, let me just say that my question, they're my personal views and not those of the Navy. We always need that legal disclaimer. But in the Navy and in careers and workplaces that are traditionally male dominated, the Navy has made some changes. Back in 1990, women weren't allowed to be on aircraft carriers. Just this year, now women are allowed to be on submarines. But it's still very difficult. For the Navy, of the Navy in general, 13% are women. For the JAG Corps, it's better. We're 30% women. And we actually have our first female admiral for the JAG Corps. But that being said, what I've noticed, and maybe I'm not sure how it is, I think maybe the civilian workforce might be ahead of the Navy. But what we've noticed as young women leaders is that in order to get ahead, it seems like you have to be very masculine. So the women who are leaders, who are admirals, most of them are not married. They might have been married at one point but gotten divorced because of the life of moving around. Most of them don't have any children. So when we look at that, we see, okay, we can strive to the top, but I mean, do we have to lose being what it means to be a woman, to be feminine, but still be firm and to be a mother? And I was wondering what advice you had to young women. Thank you.
Okay. So, Barbara, go first.
Okay,
Barbara and I looked at each other.
I know. That is a fabulous question. But I think that, when we were first launching the Women's Initiative, I would say that most of the women in leadership roles probably looked like that as well. They didn't have children or they were single. And I think today, when you have 1,100 women partners and principals and directors, there's a lot more with young children. And I think that's one of the reasons we changed our model. The little book I gave you, The Corporate Lattice, is around a new framework, which, by the way, the Navy has kind of adopted their own model. I met with Ken Barrett, and we talked about the mass career customization, but basically acknowledging that women's careers don't go like this, that they go like this. And so if you're going to have women that can really have lasting careers and be able to make it to the top, you have to acknowledge that those careers are going to go like this. They're going to take time off to have kids or do what they want to do, or everybody, even men, need time to take care of their parents or their loved ones. And so acknowledging that has really changed our culture, and I think that that's a lot different today, but it does take time. But I'd say in the beginning, whenever you're launching anything, it's going to look like, where are the role models? Why do I even want to be an admiral if I don't even see anybody that's going to have the kind of life I want? And we've had to really, again, that's why we've made it so that women can have the families and have, the full life that they want and not be, feel like they've got to go down this single path. But it does, I think change takes time.
It's all about choice.
It is about
and
choice.
Irene, you have a son, and so it's all about choice. And Roanne, you're married, and
yeah, I think that one of the statistics that I want to share with you about women when they get pregnant and they're trying to make a decision about whether they're going to continue with work or not. Oftentimes women view that economic formula based on how much money they currently make and how much they have to pay for daycare. And that's extremely short-sighted because you're discounting the amount of money you will make when you continue to work. And so in 10 years, when you go off on the mommy track, and try to get back in, that's one thing. But the value of the value of your future earning potential is not often calculated. So first of all, when you do that, when you get pregnant and you want to think about that, think about that. But the other thing is, if you return to the same organization that you worked for previously, there's a 13% premium. You actually end up getting paid a higher salary if you actually return to the company that actually knew you as a successful employee than if you zigzag and you leave your company and start all over again. So you also factor that in. And the last thing for the men in the room who are going to build up that great program, one of the secrets to keeping the women who want to have families is even when they leave your company, if you give them a laptop and a BlackBerry and continued access to your work, even if they have no job responsibilities and you're not paying them a salary, it's the knowledge, keeping current in whatever industry that you're in and not going completely off on a track. You're maintaining the social networks, the connections, the business information, the customer information, all of the projects as you are away. And same for men who are taking care of their older parents. And when they come back, those employees are plugged in, fully up to speed, and are able to perform again. So you want to, if your company doesn't offer you that, when you make that choice, you should ask them for it and explain to them why you're such a great employee now. If they did this for you within the purviews of their corporate culture, you will be a better employee when you get back.
Janelle, you can make great choices, and we're going to look to you to be the admiral. And we're going to look to you if you want to have children, great. If you choose not to, great. If you choose to get married, great. If you choose not to, great. And whatever you want to wear, great. I mean, you know, that it's about choice and sticking with it. All right, so this is called the lightning round, and I'm going to ask each of my panelists to give us a quick 20 to 30-second hit on your last words for this panel. So, Irene, quick, you're the lightning round, 20 to 30 seconds, go.
All of a sudden, I can't think of anything.
Microphone.
I think of the younger generation as having a different culture than you. The younger people, women and men, want to have a life. So the rules we are making, the path we're talking about, which apply to our age level, don't apply to them. So men, young men, now want a bigger share of family life than the previous generation. So let's think about that as we plan how to balance work and family.
Okay,
Think
thank
of
you.
the men.
Barbara.
So I think the main thing for us around leadership for women is to recognize that some of this is like ourselves and speaking up and having that confidence to do it, but also finding an organization where the culture fits with your values. And I think if you find that, what I've learned through all the things I've been able to do through the Women's Initiative is it's really about the organization's values and how they align with mine, and the fact that we've had that leadership from the top that really has been unwavering.
Okay, Royanne.
Mine is feedback. Men tend not to give women, just in broad sweeping generalizations, men tend not to give women feedback because they're afraid we're going to cry. But it's important. It's an important point. If a woman gets silenced, if you go 2 years without feedback, or you get feedback that says yes, you're perfect and there's nothing you could possibly do to improve your performance, in 2 years you will statistically be underperforming compared to your male counterparts. Seriously. And this is why they say women aren't qualified. I can't find any qualified women. It's because you don't get the good stretch assignments. It's because you don't ask and you don't get feedback. So the one thing that you can do that's totally empowering is to say, how can I do my job better the next time? And insist on an answer, because of course you couldn't possibly be 100% perfect. Get the feedback, even if they say you suck. That gives you an indication of where you stand in that manager's mind. Right? It's not great feedback, but it's feedback. So you really, really need to ask for that, and I think that's one of the best things you can do for your future.
All right, how about a wonderful thank you to our panelists.